Hi guys! So this video is actually specifically dedicated to one person, Jay, who emailed me a couple days ago to talk about someone close to her that had died. As you guys know, my mother died. It's been about 3.5 years. It's almost, I guess it'll be 4 years in December. And so I've blogged a lot about it, obviously, and, I've been very open with it because I think that, well, number one, that's just my personality, but number two, it helped me to kind of get those feelings out. And so I've found it really gratifying that over the years I've had people reach out to me and email me and say that my writing about my mom and, thinking about death and talking about sort of the stages that I went through afterward has really helped them. So that made me feel really good. And I got this email from someone who had emailed me previously talking about someone that died that was close to her. And so I just wanted to send this video missive to you and to anyone who has lost someone recently or is just kind of confused because you're going through the grieving process. When my mom died, someone told me a few months later, they were like, you need to go to therapy right now because for about a year, everyone's going to care. For a few months, everyone's going to care. And then after the year mark, people just sort of stop caring. It's still obviously a big deal, but they're like, really? You're still that upset about it? And that sounds incredibly callous, but it's true. That's how people behaved with me, and people I know that have had others that have died, that were really, really, really close to them. Not just, I'm not diminishing anyone's grief, but, when it's really like one of the people in your lives. I've talked to some people about that, and they've said that they've experienced the same thing, where people have been like, oh, yeah, of course you're sad, but, life goes on, and, they really just kind of, they minimize your grief. And so I found that to be true, where, I kind of had a year, there was a year on the clock, and then after a year, it was just sort of like, time's up, you got to get back to basics. And so, Jay, I know that you are just kind of hitting the year mark, and you said that things have been really difficult recently, and, for a year, you sort of felt like you were free, and it was like there was a new beginning, a fresh start, and that's exactly how I felt after my mom died. And then, to be perfectly honest, the second year I was an absolute mess. I was an utter wreck, and I was just all over the place and sort of depressed and, in retrospect, definitely drinking way too much and, just really not being my best self. But I was doing all I could, all I really knew how to do. And I look back now and, I say thank God that that's sort of several years behind me, a few years behind me. But I think that, that time after the first year, so after you sort of hit the 12-year mark, that next year, it really is difficult because people tend to go away. Your support system is sort of not there anymore. And you feel really lonely, and you feel angry, and you feel confused. And, I was having like panic attacks where I would go to bed, and I was in the room when my mom died. And so I would think about her dying, and I would relive the moment that she died over and over. And, it made me feel sort of panicked, and then I would start thinking about my own death and thinking about what death would be like and thinking about, this and that, whatever, and so just go down this rabbit hole of like, craziness. And so, I actually see a therapist now, which I love her. She's amazing. But her name is Dr. Helen Landon, by the way, so I recommend Google her if you're in Santa Monica. Check her out. She's great. I wish that I had gone to see a therapist immediately after my mom, like I had been advised to, because it would have been really, really helpful for me. And so, Jay, I would say to you, definitely I think there's no shame in therapy. You're basically just paying someone to talk to them, and they might, point out helpful things for you. But for me, it's really akin to writing in a journal, where it's just kind of having someone to bounce ideas off of, and you get all of the crap in your head out, and as you hear yourself saying it, it starts to become clear to you, and you start to realize things. And so that's why I blogged, like I said, after my mom died and while she was dying, because it was really helpful for me to just get it out. And then beyond that, I think don't be afraid to ask your friends for help. They probably don't realize how sad you are and how sad it is. I know, I mean, you know, I have some friends that have lost parents recently, and I think about them, and I don't even reach out sometimes. In some cases because they're just acquaintances, and I don't feel comfortable. I feel like they probably don't want that barrier crossed. But in other cases, you know, I'm just living my life, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm worrying about my problems and my issues. And then, you know, it'll occur to me a couple months later, like, oh crap, I should check in on her and see how she's doing. And so I know that my friends have had those same intentions toward me, and I'm sure that your friends, you know, have those same intentions toward you, but sometimes you just kind of need to jab them and poke them and remind them, because, you know, everyone's in their own little bubble, and people just sometimes forget that other people are hurting. So the good thing I can say is that, you know, for me at least, there was light at the end of the tunnel. I still miss my mom tremendously. There are photos of her all over my room, but it's not... You know, life does go on, to be perfectly honest. Life goes on, and I think that we're a death-denying society, and so that's why death can be so scary and so depressing. But death is part of life, you know, and death is not quite so hidden in other cultures, which is not to say that it's not a big deal, but I think that, you know, Westerners, and particularly Americans, we approach death in this really bad way, this really sort of scary, awful way, and we kind of shove it under the carpet and pretend that it doesn't exist, and that's, you know, not very helpful. So yeah, as for me, I can say that I'm super happy now, you know, and life is good, and my mother dying, you know, on a purely selfish level, it really helped coalesce what I want. I had a couple years of kind of wading through the crap and figuring it out and getting my head on straight, but the person that I am today in 2012 at 31 and, you know, 31 and 3/4 years old, is very different than who I was when I was 28, when my mother died, and I think a large part of that is directly because of her death. And so I've grown tremendously as a person. I've been open to growing, and I've totally changed what I want out of life. Before I had zero interest in getting married or having kids, like zero. And after she died, I realized, you know, family is really important to me, and I do want to start a family. And I want my dad to be around to see my kids, you know, and to hopefully see me get married and all of that, because my mom didn't make it, you know, I didn't do it in time. So, you know, I think that 3.5, 4 years on, it's not to say that I don't think about it, but it's thankfully, like, not as big of a deal as it was, you know, at the 1-year mark. So, you know, keep on chugging, and, you know, know that there are people out there that love you, and people that are thinking of you even if they don't tell you they're thinking of you. And, you know, just give yourself permission to be crazy right now. Give yourself permission to sort of work through all of the stuff, and to maybe not be your best self, and to maybe be a little selfish, and to be a little sad, or to be this or that. Just as long as you know in the back of your mind, really know it in your heart that it's going to get better, and that you are going to get through it, and that you have to sort of, you know, go through all this crap to rebuild and to be a better person. So I'm thinking of you. I don't even know you, but I'm thinking of you. I'm sending you hugs. I'm really sad. I wish that that person were still there for you. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Sending hugs and kisses your way, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.